All right, so my name's Ryan. I'm going to be showing you today a little bit about using NotebookLM in an educational setting. So just to start off, the easiest way to find it is just typing into Google NotebookLM, and you'll see that while it still says notebooklm.google.com, they've actually changed its name just recently to Gemini Notebook. So here's your landing page for that. As long as you have a Google account already, whether that's through your school or a personal account, you can log right in and get started by clicking this Try Gemini Notebook button. There, at least as of now, is no cost associated with it. There's not even like an upgrade, pro version or anything you can pay for. It's just all the same across the board. So that at least is nice. One thing though on that front is not all school districts allow the use of Gemini Notebook. My district does not, both on the student side and the teacher side. So that's definitely a limitation or a concern. However, what I have found is that it's still, at this point, mostly useful and very powerful on the back end teaching side of things. I'll show you there are some tools that would be good for student usage, but make sure before you plan on doing that your district actually allows students to access the software. So once you're logged in, you've created your Google account, this is where you land. This is Gemini Notebook. So it'll show you your most recent notebooks. Up here you can select your view. Either you can show all your notebooks. This is my Fitchburg account, so I only have one showing up right now. But if you get to a point where you have many, say you have notebooks for each lesson within a unit, you can curate them into collections. So you could have one collection for your physics unit, one for chemistry, one for bonds, ionic covalent, whatever. You can separate it out as much as you want using this collections tool. You can also sort with the list view versus the thumbnail view. These thumbnail views are kind of fun. You can name your notebooks. You can create an icon, but also it'll do that for you. So we'll take a look at this unit that I've already created previously for another class, and then I'll go through how to start a notebook on your own. So this one is my OpenSciEd Ecosystem Dynamics unit. It happens to be about orangutans, so it gave us this cute little icon of an orangutan. But the way that the way that NotebookLM works is it can function just like a chatbot, like ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or any of these that you may have used before, but you have a lot more control over what it's going to look at. This helps quite a bit, I feel, with the hallucinations. So I've added these sources over here on the left. And you can add things from the web. In this case, I added a news article from The Guardian that was relevant to the unit. I also added things from my Google Drive that I shared from my school account, my teacher account. Because I wanted it to look at these things in particular and be able to answer questions about that. So once you've added your sources, it'll give you this automatically generated summary. Essentially, the way they design this tool is it's to help you summarize things. It's to help you deal with a large number of documents in a more efficient way. So what I've done with this unit is, I've got my handy summary here, but I also use it to create materials for my students. The two tools that I have used the most in a student-facing direction is this audio overview and the video overview. These are all the tools in the studio. That's stuff you can create. I use these for students that are absent. So we have a big problem with absenteeism at my school. This curriculum is very linear. If they miss one piece, it's really hard to get kids caught up. So the audio overview can create an AI-generated podcast based on whichever sources you've uploaded over here on the left. And then you can also give it a prompt. Same thing with the video overview. I'll click on video overview to give us a look at that. So it has this new short option. The explainer is what I've always used. It still makes about 3 to 5 minute videos, but you can take your pick if you want to make a really short one. I guess that's an option. So you decide what your format is. We're going to go explainer. You can pick which sources you want it to look at. Sometimes you might have a source in here that is, say, the answer key to an assessment. If something's going to be student facing, you're not going to want to select that as one of your sources. So you decide what you want it to be analyzing in the source view. In this case, yeah, we're going to stick with everything. Hit confirm. Then you can pick a style. I like the whiteboard and kawaii here, just because they're simple. I teach 7th grade. These work nicely for my kids. So you select your visual style, then you get to give it a topic. Okay, so this is your prompt. This is where, like we read in Burns, it's really important to be specific and clear. So I generally start by saying something like create a student-facing, if I can type, video that will help catch up a student that has missed a class period. These lessons are generally designed to end with a question that will lead to the next lesson. So if I had opened up the slides and see, okay, what are we going to end this with? Then I can tell it, make sure to end the video with the question, blah, 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 whatever the question was for that lesson. Then you hit generate. It takes several minutes. Make sure you've got at least 5 or 10 minutes for it to go ahead and do its thing. Right? This is also a space where it is worthwhile to be a little bit considerate of the energy and water usage that this AI is going to be doing. I don't necessarily pre-make every single video until a kid has been out, and then I say, all right, log into the Google Classroom, check it there, and I'll make it then, rather than wasting that extra power and processing time. All right, so once you've made your video, it'll show up down here. These are all of the different things that I've created in the studio with this notebook. You can then take your video, you click more, and you can download it in whatever format you desire. It'll make an MP4. Then you can upload that to your Google Classroom, to your Class Dojo, Seesaw, whatever interface you use with your students. Other things, if your students do have access to NotebookLM, if it is not blocked by your district, you can do some other neat things. The quiz and flashcards are both really good study tools. Again, you can pick which sources it's going to pull from. So if you've got, say, a mid-unit assessment, you could upload sources from each of your lessons within a unit and say, all right, NotebookLM, make me a set of notebooks or note cards that should be student-facing to practice for the upcoming assessment. And you can upload that assessment to the flashcard notebook that you've made. And you can say, don't give away specific answers, but make sure the flashcards cover the relevant material. Okay, I'll give up on typing. Then you hit generate. You can decide how hard you want it to be, how many cards, but it can go ahead and create additional cards as the students are going. So once you've made these flashcards, you can share it directly with your students. Again, using this more button, you can do share and then send it to your class groups if that is available to you within your district. Same thing with the quizzes. That functions very similarly. You give it a prompt, it'll make multiple choice quizzes. Again, though, very important to say this should be student facing if you're doing that. Okay. Just to finish up real quick, the other thing that I use this a lot for is just being able to process things for myself. So if I'm going to make a new notebook based on a unit, I can either upload files from from your computer. You can use websites or YouTube. I generally, though, will take things from my drive. So you click on Drive. I'll do shared with me because I've shared this from my teacher account. And here's my unit folder here. So this is all of my lessons in this contact forces unit. So I'll make a notebook generally for each unit, and you can select your files you want to upload. I'm just going to pick all of these. This includes student procedure, the teacher guide, handouts, the slides, all of the things that are created for this unit. You hit insert, and then they appear over here on the left. It takes a little while for it to process these. Once it's gotten through a few of them, it'll give us that nice summary here in the middle. Now is when it really starts to save time. In my case, in these units, because they're pre-written, it is a standardized, somewhat annoyingly prescriptive curriculum. There can be 20 pages that you need to read through every night to figure out what you're supposed to do the next day. Rather than take all of that time, you can have a chat in the chat window here with your notebook. So we'll go ahead and name this Lesson 1, Contact Forces. And here we go, it's chugging through this information, and now it's got a summary. Okay, what I find is really, really useful here is instead of having to read through all of these teacher materials, I can say, in a first 55-minute class period, what are the most important takeaways for my students? Okay. You hit go, it's going to look through all of the materials that have been uploaded, and it can give a quick answer. Right? This way, as I'm teaching the lesson, going through the slides, I know these are the important things I need to hit. Right? I could have read the 25 pages and figured it out myself. Asking this is a lot easier. The other nice thing is it'll give you information here. Each of these little numbers links to one of your sources, and it'll show you exactly where it got its information. So you can check really easily for hallucinations, right? It's good about giving its sources so you know where the information came from. If you need to, it can create slide decks, right? So maybe you've got a lesson plan written up, but you didn't create slides for it. It can do that as well. But mostly I find it's really helpful in this being able to take all this information and I can synthesize real quick. I can say, what assessment opportunities there are, what lab materials do I need to prep, all these kinds of things that I'd otherwise have to dig for, it can just pull that out for you pretty quickly. So again, really powerful tool. It's got some student-facing functions. It's got some really handy stuff on the back end for dealing with your curriculum. If you've got something like me where you have to teach something that somebody else wrote. So that's NotebookLM. Again, there's our new notebook that we just created. There's the old one. You can organize them however you want. But really powerful tool. It can be a really nice time saver, as well as creating some useful things that you can send to your students, again, if that's an option. All right, thanks a lot for viewing my presentation.